Guys, guess what? I jumped on a TikTok trend and I'm super excited to share it. I made the rosemary salt and I am so happy with it. Based on my first reaction at smelling it, I instantly thought roasted chicken and Alfredo. So I'm gonna do that with some veggies. And this is our last night before we go keto, so we might as well get some noodles in, right? Oven set to roast at 400 degrees. I have roughly 4 chicken breasts. I really didn't do anything with them. I just cut off any of the icky stuff that looked gross. I will say I've been super frustrated as of lately because it seems like the quality of our chicken in our store has gone down. And I know there's a processing shortage, but they end up demolished. So I'm gonna go over and make sure that I generously put pepper on all of these first before I add the rosemary salt. Both sides done for the pepper. So our chicken breasts have pepper. We're gonna add the rosemary salt. And basically you're just gonna take a good amount of it and kind of sprinkle it over it. And then go back and actually rub it into your chicken and kind of pat it in there. So then we're gonna pop these in the oven for 20 minutes to start, and then we're gonna add vegetables. So while the chicken's going, I started some water. I also have a lemon left over from making the salt, so I just kind of cut off some of the peels and I'm just gonna drop them in there just for a little extra flavor to the water and making the noodle. It's not a huge deal. I'm just trying to be fancy. We did, however, have some really awesome looking asparagus in the store, so I grabbed some and I'm gonna chop that up. So I did roughly 2 tablespoons of olive oil, about a teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon and a half of black pepper, and a teaspoon of the rosemary salt, and then we're just gonna throw our asparagus in there. Add your asparagus to that and coat it. When you've moved it around a little bit, throw it on your chicken pan. Doesn't really matter where. Roughly another tablespoon of oil to your bowl, and then I'm gonna chop up a zucchini. I always start by cutting mine in half and then cutting the halves in half, so it's a quarter. And then just go down and chop them off. And then toss your zucchini in the same mixture. And then toss it on your pan. Back in the oven for another 20. Our weird lemon water is going well, so add your spaghetti. You can use fettuccine if you want to too. I just have spaghetti on hand. And stop a tantrum in its tracks. Can I have kisses? Mwah. Or try, at least. So while everything's cooking, I took that lemon that I had left over and I juiced it. Roughly about 2 tablespoons. And we're gonna save that for later. Noodles are almost done. Noodles strained and over medium-low heat. 3 tablespoons of butter. 2 cloves minced garlic in the pan. Let it go till fragrant. Add our lemon juice. And then add heavy whipping cream. It's gonna vary between, I would say, like 3/4 of a cup and maybe a cup and a half, depending on how saucy you want it. And then just keep stirring it. I may even dare to say it ended up being 2 cups, but just go till it feels right. So now that we kind of have a decent texture going, we're gonna add, I'd say like half a teaspoon of the salt, and then a little bit of black pepper. I'd say roughly about a half a teaspoon of that. So I ended up adding a little milk. Probably should have saved the pasta water, but it's done. Sauce is all good and made up. We're gonna add our noodle. So once they're in the pan, just kind of move them around, get them nice and covered and coated. What I love about this Alfredo is that by using the really heavy whipping cream, it honestly coats so nicely. So the chicken and veggies are out. You're gonna wanna take your veggies off of the tray. So I did a little taste test on the veggies. They taste awesome, they taste great. I did a taste test on the chicken. I think I used the wrong salt because my salt did not break down. So I'm actually going to scrape it off a little bit, and I think that'll probably fix the problem. I apparently need to do a little bit more research on this again. So that's how it started off, and then after taking off the extra salt, that's what we're left. So it's still a little bit on the salty side, but when you pair it with the Alfredo, it cuts it great. And there it is in all of its glory. So now that everybody's in bed, I think I can talk a little bit more about where I think I went wrong with it all today. I also found that my husband stashed a mini bottle of champagne in the fridge, so that's probably contributing to this TED Talk. So first off, if you want to know how to make the rosemary salt, you can either search it or I also tagged the original poster. And I think what got me is I kind of got hyped up by the smell of it. It's very, very like aromatic and you forget that it's salt. So basically the seasoning horn in my head was like, this is a great idea. If it's not great, it'll buff out. I also think another major screw up was using crystals and not fine salt. To the original poster, I'm so sorry I fucked it up, and now I have to go stalk your page, so